Hi, welcome to one more episode of Zindagi Ka Safar. Hi, Deepak, welcome. So, Deepak is joining us all the way from Melbourne, and uh, I had this very interesting meeting with him around 2 years back when I was visiting Australia and I went to Melbourne, and so we met up. And I was asking him, show me something. So I think he took me to a casino. And then he was trying to explain to me, but he himself I don't think has done much there. So I being more risk averse, the only thing finally I think we did was having some chips which is hidden behind. So we went to the casino. So that's what our life is. And we seem to be having a lot of things in common. So I also after some point moved into the training and development, and Deepak has been doing that. So we are going to be talking to Deepak about his journey so far. So Deepak, let's hear about your Zindagi Ka Safar or your life journey. Where did you grow up, schooling? What were your
Mm,
aspirations while growing up and all?
cool. Yeah, Dada, thank you. First of all, thanks for having me over. I know that picture is probably a couple of years back, and when things settle down, one day let's do it once again.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's a really interesting childhood, Tuhin. Dad was working with coffee and tea
Mm,
with an organization, and I think I was really fortunate as I was growing.
mm,
Some really, really, I think almost exotic places we kind of lived in. Today,
mm.
when I think about it, so it started off very close to Ooty,
Wow.
then Coimbatore. There's a place
Mm,
in Tamil Nadu called Annamalais. We were there for a period of time.
mm,
And then when dad moved, he moved on. We moved to Coorg, to Madikeri,
okay.
into a small coffee kind of area. So from
Mm,
there, we moved on to Shimoga,
wow.
uh, Mysore. So if you really look at it, a lot of people go to this place for holidays, and I was fortunate. I think our childhood was really simple but really beautiful, but in
Mm,
really scenic places, surrounded with coffee and tea and hills and all that.
mm,
But a really, really, I think, interesting, relaxed, nice childhood it was. Yeah,
mm,
so that was the journey as a kid. So finished my BBM degree in Mysore,
mm,
and after that, I think, like for a lot of us in our batch, I think we spent two spectacular years at TAPMI, Manipal.
mm,
So that was kind of the journey. Really, really
mm.
enjoyable journey, if I may say. Yeah.
So, tap me as a journey. So,
Hmm.
because since you came with a BBA as a background, some of us, for example, I came with engineering, and I had no idea that within management, what are the different fields which can be there. So, since you have chosen HR, were you pretty sure from the time you had joined TAPME that you will want to specialize into HR, or was it something else and you did it at a later point in time?
Yeah, today I think I've spoken to some of my batchmates about this, Dada, and frankly, today, if I was to kind of rewind that whole episode, I would actually say uh, you should typically finish a bachelor's degree, and my view, spend, I think, a year or two working,
Hmm.
and,
Hmm.
and then get into something. I think that would make it a much better experience, frankly.
Hmm.
Now, the choice of BBM, etc., I need to credit my dad. There's tremendous pressure from multiple sources, when you're growing up.
Hmm.
And he was somebody who always said to me, you pick something which you enjoy, pick something that you like. And
Hmm.
science subjects was not my forte. I've got some great friends who, I've been part of. A couple of them then ended up in TAPME with us.
Okay.
Anand is one.
Hmm.
Our journey goes around 35, 38 years. Vijay Rego is another one.
Hmm.
And very quickly, while doing, my BBM, etc., you kind of realize there are some subjects is tough, some you kind of enjoy out there.
Hmm.
And I enjoyed that those elements around that human interaction, the people side of things, etc. And then you
Hmm.
enter Tap Me, and that's when I thought that's a line I would really love to pursue. And
Hmm.
I think you know that in our entire batch, I think there were three people who took HR. There was Kavita, there was Roshni, and there was myself. At
Hmm.
least predominantly the larger subjects.
Hmm.
Uh, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed, that whole element of the HR journey, etc. From there.
Hmm.
But also, I need to be frank with you. It is also probably a choice because there are some subjects I struggled. I battled in that first couple of semesters. Got a help of a lot of people from wonderful Priya to yourself. I was sitting with multiple people, but I think you also very quickly realize this is probably your strength,
Hmm.
and you then start focusing on that, and hopefully build a career. And I've been a little fortunate to build a career on something I've enjoyed doing. Yeah.
Okay, one thing which I sometimes wonder, for example, when you're
Mm,
looking at BBA, and
yeah.
then you come to MBA. Recently, I got the opportunity to teach some students who were into BBA, and if you look at the course syllabi per se,
Yeah.
more or less it is similar. Maybe the rigor or maybe the depth in which a MBA goes into is not there in a BBA.
Mm,
So was it in some way, at least some of the courses, was it an advantage? For example, let's say I think you definitely would have done a course in marketing as an example. So
true.
your 4 P's of marketing or 7 P's of marketing will not change whether you are in BBA or whether you're in MBA.
Sure.
So did that help in any way?
Now, I'm happy to be on this call, Dada, as long as you don't ask me any concepts now. Yeah. Uh, but I think it does help to a small degree, Dada, in the sense it also depends where you do your bachelor's from.
Hmm.
A lot of regard, a lot of regard for the education that I did have, say, in, Shimoga or Mysore or whatever.
Hmm.
But those are those are not very intense programs.
Hmm.
It's you go in there, you even with basic work, you can
Hmm.
kind of sail through them.
Hmm.
And I think you're also in that phase of life where, you're just enjoying it. You're skimming through subjects. You're
Hmm.
into multiple other things like sports and friends, and you've got 100 other things to do. But to answer your question, does it help with some subjects? I believe so.
Hmm.
Anything related to commerce, marketing, anything which were human resources related, I think, there is some links there.
Okay.
But the harder ones,
Hmm.
the finance, the economics, those international finance, who will ever forget that? Those kind of things, you have no clue what is going on there. Yeah, helps to a degree, but it doesn't take you through rigor and depth. So, when you come into something like a real intense MBA, especially first year, yeah,
Hmm.
it can shock you. It can shock the system, to be frank with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because it was little bit of my curiosity, because
Mm.
in case my younger daughter wants to go for a MBA, I was just wondering whether she should do a BBA first and then move into a MBA as a full time as an
I've
opportunity.
kind of lost to answer that question. That I've kind of lost a bit of touch about what's happening in India, etc. But what I do know, with friends, kids, and cousins, etc. If you get into a really good college,
Hmm.
a really good BBA college, I think the rigor is quite intense.
Hmm.
And I think that also comes up with even the really good BBA and BBA colleges. Companies are coming in and coming out for campus placements and things like that.
Hmm.
So a good college, I think, would be the underlying thing there. Yeah,
Yeah.
if she can do that, I think then she can then move on to something. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's gave me more clarity from that particular thought which I had. Um,
Mm,
Now, before you actually moved into and you specialized, and now that has been your expertise, which is into learning and development and
yeah.
consulting as an assignment. The initial couple of years, you did a multiple of different jobs, not only in India, also You were in UAE for some point in time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
was that initial 3 4 years before you moved into starting your own, was it related to HR or was it in some other areas?
Yeah, it's all been in HR, Dada. So what
Okay.
happened was we all graduated together,
Hmm.
and I think placements was a bit of a challenge in the sense, you get into a role, and I
Hmm.
think our great friend KK and I, we both got into an organization together,
PCI.
and yeah, and I think that was a bit of a speed bump. I didn't last too long at all, and KK lasted a little longer than me, I think. And
Yeah.
then I think very quickly when you realize you don't have something, then there's a bit of a panic there. But I was very keen that this is a field I want to pursue. Then
Hmm.
you start applying, you use your network, and I was lucky, got interviewed, and then got into what was then Brookborn Lipton.
Hmm.
So spent some time with them. Today, frankly, as you asked me to speak, if there's one thing I would probably say, that was a mistake. I spent a very brief year with them,
Okay.
uh, and then you start applying. And I think that's the time where everybody is applying for jobs, and people are coming and asking you, what's going on, what's the package you're on. And frankly, if you were to ask me today, that was a mistake. I'd applied for roles outside India, and then a role came through.
Hmm.
And when you actually just compare money, the money in the Gulf is at that time hugely different, four or
Yes.
five times. And
Hmm.
you quickly do the math and you think, gosh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, on reflection, that was a big error. Yeah.
Hmm.
You then go in there, then there's some issues with visas, etc.
Hmm.
So the initial couple of years in the Gulf were a bit rough.
Hmm.
You think really terrible decision that was, but then I think was really good. I got into Marks and Spencer.
Hmm.
I think a fantastic company, really good role, and the role involved working in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, briefly across the Gulf, a little bit
Hmm.
in the UK, and then back in Dubai.
Hmm.
All in HR, HR ops, HR through and through, and a fantastically challenging role it was,
Hmm.
and you think back and say, gosh, that was really, really, really a good role, enjoyable, fun. But I would say that error was to make that very quick decision of leaving what I even today consider a great organization without thinking through it carefully.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I think lots of us, I did it. I don't know, many of our batchmates did it, but I think that was a terrible move. Yeah.
Somehow I think all of us seem to do it in the first job, because I think our expectations and our understanding of what a job will really
Mm,
mean is very different, and everyone seems to be disliking the first job he or she is taking. Yeah, and
true, true.
as you said, sometimes our decisions are pretty fine. For some people who have stuck it also, I think it worked out pretty good in a way. But when
Yeah.
did you realize that training will
Mm.
be a area? Because uh, did you start in the initial years getting an opportunity to do some amount of training in the HR
That's
function?
an interesting one, Dada. I was really enjoying the role, and I think
Hmm.
even within HR, as you're also somewhere connected to the profession, there are variety of things we do, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you do induction, recruitment, legal, performance management. But if there's one thing I thoroughly was passionate about, was the learning and development training side of things. And I clearly remember this. I was running a workshop internally, obviously, at that time for
Hmm.
Marks and Spencer. And there was this regional trainer who had come over and said, can you run this program for us? And I was running that. And our country manager at the time just kind of popped in for a period of time, was just watching the program. And the evening he called me, Alan was his name. He called
Hmm.
me and said, you're the happiest when
Hmm.
you're doing this. And he also told me, if you ever consider doing something and you really want to focus on something, this is something you should do. The
Hmm.
learning and development training side of things.
Hmm.
It gives me I really enjoy that. The whole process of, designing something, facilitating it, just being in the room with people
Hmm.
and kind of, having questions, scenarios, situations, and engaging with them gives me a great amount of joy. And then I said, that's what I would love to do. And he was kind enough. More and more, my roles were more into the training L&D side of things,
Hmm.
and it really gives you, a sense of fun, a sense of joy, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. Yeah, so that's probably the trigger. Internally, it was there, but you also need somebody to maybe say, "I'll give you that opportunity to do that." So
Hmm.
so thanks to him.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So when did you then decide that maybe you will want to do something on your own and not be part of another organization and
Mm.
start it?
Uh, that was a little later, Dada. So what had happened was when you're in the Gulf, if I may indulge you, one thing, especially when you work in a place like Kuwait,
Hmm.
you're working hard, but there's not much to do. And I've also really enjoyed the traveling part of things. So I've
Hmm.
always wanted to go explore and see countries. Not like you. You, I think, have reached the grandmaster level, but I've also tried to do a bit of that. So I'd saved up a little of money, and then
Hmm.
while I was in the Gulf, I traveled to Australia because that was a place I always wanted to once. And when I moved there, I came here for this was 99, 2000, I believe. Came here for a couple of months, saw the country, traveled around a little bit, and I absolutely loved it.
Hmm.
And that's when I thought if I was to maybe continue working, if I could work in a country like that, that would
Hmm.
be even more enjoyable.
Hmm.
So that's when I moved back to my manager Alan, and I told him this is something I want to do.
Hmm.
And he said, if you want to do that, that's a choice you will have to take. And
Hmm.
then I moved here. I was here very briefly in Sydney. I moved on a residency.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I had to go back because at that time my dad wasn't too well.
Oh.
Uh, he had a bit of Parkinson's, and uh, we knew that his health was kind of dipping quite rapidly. So
Hmm.
then we had to move back. So my choices at that time were to go back to Bangalore and maybe
Hmm.
try and go back to corporate. And
Hmm.
that's when the Indian economy was really picked up,
Hmm.
2001, 2002 at that time. And when I spoke to a few friends, including our batchmates,
Hmm.
uh, Nath was one I spoke to, I remember, and the general consensus was there is a need for L&D facilitation kind of thing. So then I said, let me try this out. Let
Hmm.
me try this out for about a year. If it works, I'll continue. But if it does not work, let me try and get a job back in corporate.
Hmm.
So that's when I started. That was the year 2001 is when
Hmm.
I started off on my own.
Hmm.
And in this journey, a couple of my batchmates also have been involved. I've worked a little bit with Vijay Rego, and I've worked with some really exceptional trainers too. So from 2001
Hmm.
is when I kind of started doing some work on my own. It's been about what,
2 decades
many,
now.
many years now. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. So that
it's
was the
wonderful that
journey.
I think 2 decades of work, and uh, I was more fortunate to uh, get you to come and work or
Mm.
conduct one workshop for my organization, and uh, the participant were so impressed that I nearly lost my own job, saying that this guy is much better than our trainer who is there. Yeah,
You're a
so
kind man,
that's the
Dada. You always been.
okay. So you have worked with so many different organizations and different geographies and otherwise. So
Yeah.
when you're going and, for example, delivering a particular program,
Yeah.
how much of let's say customization or maybe even flexing of your style of delivery do you have to do? Let's say it's the same program. Suppose you're doing
Yeah.
team building uh, in an organization, let's say Infosys in India, and maybe you're going to be doing it for IBM in uh, Melbourne. So will there be
Yeah.
a difference in your approach to the content of that, and plus your delivery of the program?
Yeah. Initially, it is tough, Dada. I think when we start off, I think in this journey, I think it's tough to do that,
Hmm.
because you're so focused, I think, on, on the
Hmm.
content piece. You're so focused on trying to, do a good job, etc. I think it's very, very tough at that juncture to kind of, adapt, customize it, etc. But you have to do that. I think more than companies, I think the cultural adaptation is a big piece. In
Yeah.
my,
Yeah.
my little bit of understanding about culture, I think you run a workshop, uh, say for a Bosch in India in Bangalore,
Hmm.
it's very, very different from running workshop for Bosch in Melbourne, or say
Hmm.
a Bosch workshop somewhere in Asia.
Hmm.
That cultural nuance, I think, is a real key piece. Yeah,
Hmm.
and you'll make some mistakes too. You'll make some real errors,
Hmm.
and you got to be cautious about that. And I made quite a few on my journey on this.
Hmm.
That's a really big thing. So that's one. And the second thing, what I've also seen is really kind of trying to understand what's the need out there, because you go in as a facilitator with your own mindset about saying, oh gosh, I need to do A, B, and C.
Hmm.
But once you start talking to people, what your A, B, and C is really not the issue. Yeah.
Hmm.
And are you then able to very quickly adapt to that, saying, okay, here are participants, the challenge is this particular element of the team, and can you
Hmm.
do something and enable those conversations? And
Hmm.
your role, frankly, as a facilitator is to create an environment where, they can engage, have a bit of fun. Maybe you could offer a framework, but you're just with them in the room, frankly. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
But to answer your question, is there adaptation? Huge amount. Yeah.
Hmm.
But there's also a huge amount of humility, if I may say, to understand saying it's not about you uh, at all. It is
Hmm.
about the organization and the participants. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that gives a good idea to whoever maybe is wanting to get into a similar field or is already in a field to make them more
Mm,
effective. We'll move to a little bit fun elements which are there, and
sure.
this is the last segment which we call it Ask Me Anything, or AMAs,
Sure.
which is
Please
there.
do.
Yeah. So the first question, looking at you, I don't know whether I should ask or not, but anyway, let me do that. So, what is the weirdest thing you would have done as a child? You don't seem to be the naughty kind of person, but anyway, let me ask that.
I don't know about naughty, Dada, but I think we all, I think, as kids have these unique childhoods, But for me, I think the most enjoyable part, I wouldn't say as a child, was probably from the age of about 11, 12 to about 18, 19. And this is largely the life was in Shimoga,
Hmm.
a great friend of ours, Anand, together. And he was probably the naughtiest guy in our batch that time. I'll never forget this. He had this huge attendance shortage. I think he's going to kill me for saying this. Huge attendance shortage. And I think the teacher had said his parents need to be called into class. And
Hmm.
his parents are pretty conservative and, very I had a lot of regard and respect for them, and I knew if they were to come, Anand's going to be in big trouble.
Hmm.
So we were actually in a park, a couple of friends and I, trying to convince people there to play Anand's parents.
Hmm.
And it's a general park, and we found a couple of people too, so a lot of good fun. I don't know whether it's weirdest, but we've had some great times together. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you said, see, over a period of time, all of us change. So,
Yeah.
do you see any change amongst your friends, or you can take my example? Do you see any change from the time we were there uh, at our B school, which is now close to 25 years plus, and to the date which we are here today?
People change that. Of course they do, but I think, yeah, every batch will probably say that, but I just think it was just an exceptional group of people.
Hmm.
I'm probably in touch with, like you, I think you probably are right at the top, but I'm probably even today in touch with about maybe 25, 30 of a batch on a
Hmm.
reasonably regular level.
Hmm.
Do people change? Of course they do. There are life circumstances, there are other pressures which come into play. But for me, that's a really core part. I know today I can call an A, B, C, and we can genuinely, connect and speak and even get help from each other.
Hmm.
Yesterday I was in call with a batchmate of mine, and somebody was looking for something, and you still speak to people. So I just think it's a great, great group of people. Yeah, overall, yeah.
Okay. That's wonderful. So, okay, let's uh,
Hmm.
look at one more aspect. Now, what is the best thing about being a guy and the worst thing about being a male?
That's a tough one, Dada. I think if you would ask me, I think it's a little easier just being a guy. I think, there are certain choices in life which just makes it easier for you,
Hmm.
whether you like it or not. Just for example, I'm married to an absolutely lovely girl. She's a yoga teacher,
Hmm.
but I think it's easier for me to make a choice, and the social mores, so to speak, make it easier for you. Today there's another job out there, and I was
Hmm.
to just, let's say we're packing bags and we're moving to Bangalore,
Hmm.
and I think it's easier that way. Is it necessarily right? I'm not. I don't think it is right,
Hmm.
but that way it makes it easier. Uh, the challenge sometimes also is there's quite a bit of an expectation also, yeah,
Hmm.
on the guy. And again, nothing from I think immediate family, but there's also social expectation sometimes, in my view, which can
Hmm.
be a bit of a pain sometimes. But overall, I think things are completely equalized today. The guy, girl, I really don't think there's any difference, frankly. Life is just moving on at a rapid pace, and everything's really equal today. Yeah.
So, I think
Hmm.
one of the thing which I really think is the success which all of us had, whether I had or you had. I think we hope a huge amount to our better halves who have always, I think, stood behind whatever our circumstances or wherever, as you said, if you want to pack a bag and go. But what happened to the, for example, you have two sons now. You guys again moved back to Australia a few years back, and
True.
so how quickly were they able to adjust again from coming from a Indian perspective and making friends and otherwise?
I think this is a very easy country, Dada. It's a
Hmm.
very easy country, especially for kids. And
Hmm.
one of the reasons we wanted to move here, at least from an experience view, was to just
Hmm.
kind of give the kids the experience of the education system, the culture, the people, etc.
Hmm.
They found it very easy. They now are these 17, Krish is 13. We've been here for 4 years.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's very independent,
Hmm.
So my elder fellow also works in a little fast food place close by here.
Hmm.
So that way, I think that the country has been really, really open to them. The education system is much more relaxed.
Hmm.
I think you've been here, you've seen what your girls go through. It's far
Yeah.
more relaxed.
Hmm.
Uh, Opportunities are there, etc. So they're enjoying it. They're absolutely enjoying it. The whole life, the experience, and things like that. Are we going to be here forever? I don't know. So the boys really like it out here, but are we always going to be here? Is a question, which I'm kind of left with, but who knows?
Okay. But
Yeah.
I think definitely their higher studies they will definitely do in Australia, because that's a, as you pointed out, is an opportunity. So what are the boys looking at? What are they looking at? Because he is more closer to at 17,
Hmm.
or has he already chosen a field? Has he already gone to the college?
Uh, It's quite flexible here, Dada. So,
Okay.
they have multiple opportunities and things like that.
Hmm.
So, he seems to like the science subjects, particularly biology.
Oh.
What is he going to end up doing? I really don't know. Yeah, he's
Hmm.
much quieter, but he enjoys the biology part of that particular stream.
Hmm.
And they got multiple opportunities out here. So, I think they will end up doing some study here and things like that. Yeah. So, and it's easier. It is not as intense competition wise to get into, I think, a really good university. So that way they should be okay. Yeah.
So you were a pretty good sports person, and as you said, your wife also um, is into the yoga thing, and I believe both your sons are pretty much into cricket. So uh, they only play cricket, or have they also picked up some other like rugby and other kind of sports which are there?
Yeah. No, sports been a big part of my life. So in the sense, even as a young boy and even as friends growing,
Hmm.
sports been big, cricket, tennis, etc. I followed literally every sport. And that
Hmm.
was one of the triggers early on to move here too, just to come experience that.
Hmm.
To answer your question, the boys, yeah, initially started with cricket. I think everybody from our heritage, when they come here,
Hmm.
naturally they go in and play cricket.
Hmm.
The younger boy plays a bit of soccer
Oh,
too.
okay.
Yeah, little bit of that. And they're not too crazy, brother. So they're both part of the local cricket club here.
Hmm.
And when the cricket season is on, they play cricket, things like that. But are they crazily into it? I don't think so.
Okay.
The elder fellow, I think his interest will slightly taper off. It is tapering off.
Hmm. Hmm.
And But the younger fellow is into cricket, into soccer,
Hmm.
and this country is known for sport. You've been here, here. So bunch of opportunities for sports out here. So they're just using that and enjoying that. Yeah.
You are able to get some time out for sports and all?
I think I
Means
was telling
playing.
some.
I'm not talking
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah, yeah.
watching
No,
it.
I've got enough time that really, because when I speak to some of my our batchmates who are so intensely busy,
Hmm.
uh, I remember calling some of them. Some of them will be in a meeting. They'll say, "Oh gosh, stop calling me," etc. And they'll say, "What are you doing?" And no, time is there. I think when you're on your own, especially when projects, I think the life we lead. Suddenly projects go high, and then you have a bit of a lull. And when the lull
Hmm.
is there, yeah, I do occasionally play an odd cricket match here, but yeah, I think the heart wants to do it, but the body does not allow me to do it anymore. Yeah, but yeah, it's enjoyable to go and occasionally play. Yes.
So, what has been one of your best performance in cricket in the last couple of years?
I played a match here that was really good. The second match here, and I think that, yeah, I went opening and
Wow.
I,
Hmm.
I scored like no, it was a very both teams were pretty ordinary to be frank, and I ended up scoring some 49 not out,
Oh.
and people thought that was an amazing innings. And the second match they got me to play, I tore my right hamstring badly, and that was the end of the cricket season for some time. Yeah, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the sport, and just going in. And it's a very communal thing. Lots
Hmm.
of people are together. You sit, have a bit of a chat. End of the evening, they have a barbecue, and you have some fun, and it's really enjoyable. Yeah.
So, what are your most favorite vacation points as a family? Is it camping? Is it just going out to a different country or different city? How does it
No,
work?
we haven't done much of that, Dada. So we've been here what for 4 years. So
Hmm.
a couple of years we did travel back. So we did travel back
To
home
India?
to
Hmm.
India, because that's something we always wanted to do. At
Yeah.
least one, maybe if it works out, maybe two trips a year. So on the way, you'll stop over in, say, Malaysia, spend a few days there, etc. But here within Australia, there are loads of really beautiful road trips and things like that you can do. The Great Ocean Road. I remember recommending that to you. And I think you've probably seen more of Australia than we have, actually. And you also, I know, have visited some exotic farmhouses and things like that.
Yes,
Yeah. Uh,
exactly.
but yeah, there are loads and loads of good road trips out here, Dada. But last, I think, 18 months has been rough for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of cooped up a bit. So when the lockdown opens, everybody runs. And we are in lockdown right now in Melbourne. So we're in the midst of a 5-day lockdown.
Oh,
So, yeah.
yeah, and I understand it's quite, um, though, as you said, comparatively compared to India, the number of cases are not so high. But the lockdown really means a lockdown that someone from Sydney is not able to go to Melbourne, or you guys can go
Yeah.
to Brisbane. So the borders get closed. That's
True,
how
true.
the
No,
lockdown is working.
yeah, it's quite strict, Dada. It gets quite intense here. And every party has their own view about it. I was speaking to my brother because this lockdown was for, I think, something like 10 cases. And my
Mm.
younger brother was saying they've got 10 cases, not in their apartment block, but on their floor. But each country deals with that differently. Yeah. So what to do, that's how it is.
Okay. So if you could meet and spend one day with any person who ever lived, who will it be and why?
I've been a huge Rahul Dravid fan,
Wow.
Dada.
Ah.
We are all around about the same age group. I followed his career right from
Hmm.
his St. Joseph's Bangalore days, junior cricket in Karnataka player, etc.
Hmm.
Uh, what I really loved about him is, uh, incredible hard work, incredible focus. If I think you can ask a lot of cricket fans, probably not the most talented person, but my God, every ounce of talent, I think he just maximized that. What I would
Hmm.
love to do is to just maybe spend some time and just have a conversation about how do you do that? How do you manage that? And he also does that with a lot of grace and humility.
Yeah.
Even when he talks to people,
Hmm.
when you interview him, you feel quite proud that he's representing your country, if I may
Hmm.
say.
Hmm.
And it's done with real class. So I'd love to know, how do you do that under that pressure? How do you still maintain that dignity and respect, even for opponents? You ask opponents, they have real high regard for him. So that would be a person I would love to spend, maybe a day and have a chat.
Yeah, I think he will be ideal for many of us. And now we
Mm.
have come to know about that he can also be a good actor. So the Indiranagar ka Gunda,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
really
I
need to
saw
ask him that how does he come out from his skin and act it out.
that.
So
That was brilliant, wasn't it? That was a great, great one. Yeah, I saw that. Really enjoyable. That was that little lad. Yeah.
so there was this, I think, tidbit afterwards which came out saying that
Mm,
every time after he shouted at uh, his role required him to shout at someone else
mm.
in the other car, he will shout, finish the thing, and then he'll say sorry. So he would have said sorry some 10 times if he had done the shot, and
Yeah.
also that is his personality which is there.
Mm.
Okay. Coming to the last question,
Yeah.
so would you rather have endless money or endless love?
I
And
think
you need to
you know
think
me.
about it because a lot of your female following and uh, they are going to be keep you need not break their heart by just saying
No, no,
something.
no. There's no following now, Dada. There's no following at all. I think you know me pretty well, Dada. I think if you had asked me to choose, I would really, really like enjoy a job I love doing. Yeah, and if I
Hmm.
could be a bit cheeky here, enjoy the job, love that you're doing, and I think a little bit of money will follow there, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. It will.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I would probably say.
Okay, I think Deepak, I think it is such a wonderful conversing with you, which is always, as you said, you not only keep in touch with friends because you will just call up and we'll just talk as if we have been, as if we were talking to each other a couple of days back and all. And though you call quite frequently, you call maybe every 2-3 months, and I really appreciate that you are uh, taking that effort to do with all of us. Somehow we are not able to do that. We need to learn that, and there's so many things to learn from you. So it was wonderful as usual to speak to you, uh, know a little bit more about your life, some insights you gave about how to be more effective as a professional. So wish you all the best on your journey, and we hopefully will meet up soon.
Thank you, Dada, and also thank you for doing this. I know for a lot of us, it's really lovely to catch up with a batchmate, see what they're up to, and it's really nice. So thanks for taking the effort to doing this, and my regards to your family and your lovely girls. Take care, Dada,
Yeah.
and see you
Okay.
sometime soon in Melbourne.
Definitely. Definitely. Thanks a lot.
Bye, Dada.